Hey everyone, Spidey here, and this video has been a long time coming. And it's not gonna go viral. It's not meant to. And as much as I love YouTube and what it's done for my career, there's one thing I wish was a little different, and I wish there was a way to tell YouTube that this video is just for my subscribers. It's not gonna do well for other audiences. It's not meant for other audiences. It's just between me and my subscribers because there's something that I really wanna share with you guys. In fact, there are two things that I wanna share with you guys, and I've been hinting at them all summer that there was going to be a big announcement, and this is that video. Now, for me to explain why these two developments are as important as they are for me, I have to do something I've never done on the channel, and that's tell you about my life and who I am. Because it recently dawned on me that since day one, this channel has been about what I do, about behavioral psychology, analysis, body language, persuasion, communication, and every now and then I'll talk a little bit about something from my life when it relates to the topic, but I've never really gone into my life. So hi, my name is Bedros Akelian, and the proper pronunciation of that is Bedros Akelian. I am an Armenian Canadian, so my mom was born in Egypt to Armenian parents. My dad was born in Syria to Armenian parents. They both moved here when they were teenagers, here being Montreal, Canada, and this is where I was born. And since, for those of you who don't know, Montreal is in Quebec, which is a French-speaking province, I speak, read, and write fluently English, Armenian, and French. I want to start by talking about my professional career, experience, and education, because first of all, it relates to some of this news, but second, because as my viewers, you deserve to know where this knowledge is coming from. Like, what's the experience, what's the background, what's the education? So I'm going to split my professional background into two paths. One is the entertainment path, and the other one is the psychology path. And although they're extremely interwoven, especially starting at some point, I'm going to talk about them separately a little bit at first. My whole life, I loved magic. I loved all the arts. My mom is a successful artist, and it certainly reflects in me as I was growing up. I love music, I love dancing, I loved anything that's related to the arts. And magic has always been something that fascinated me. As a kid, me and my brother would buy these little magic tricks and we'd perform it for the family, but I'd get bored really easy once I knew what the secret was. As I was growing up, I pursued other hobbies and interests, but it was always kind of a background curiosity. And I started to get a little bit more into it in high school. One of my uncles bought me this really cool trick, and I'd run around school doing it for all my friends, and I really loved the reaction that it got, but it all changed when I went to Vegas with my father for the first time. My father's in the jewelry industry, and he was there for a trade show, and I just tagged along. You know, I'd never been to Vegas, and I was just there to kind of help out in any way I can. And I was walking around some of the hotels, the shops, and I ran into a shop called Houdini's Magic Shop. And I'm sure those of you who have been to Vegas in the 90s would remember this. And there was one in Caesars, and there was definitely one in the Venetian as well. I remember the one in the Venetian, it was by the food courts, and there was another one that I think was at Caesar's Palace. But I think there were a few of them. And the concept was that they would sell these very commercial and easy to master magic tricks, and they would demo them for the passing crowds, and you can buy them and you can learn them. And I was just blown away by what these guys were doing. And I was like, I can buy this? Like, I can buy being that good? And so I did. I bought everything they were selling, and I was instantly at that moment. I don't know what it was that clicked in that moment, but I was obsessed. I came back home and the obsession had started. I would practice day in and day out. I would get my hands on any resource that I can, and I was completely consumed and learning all these magic tricks. And I went to a local magic shop and I volunteered my time there. I said, look, I'd like to demo for you. I know the basics really well. I'll help you guys sell. You don't have to pay me, but I wanted to learn everything. So I went through all their books, all their videos, every drawer. And as I was practicing and learning and performing magic as much as I could, my interest was already starting to shift towards a subcategory of magic known as mentalism. And mentalism is a very interesting art form because a lot of people watch mentalists and don't really know that they're watching a magician, but you are. Mentalism is magic. So mentalism is any time you go see a performer and we bring people from the audience on stage and we know things about them. We know things about their lives and the kinds of lives that they have, and we start naming people that they know and experiences from their lives. And it almost feels like a psychic reading, but on stage. And there are these really big impressive moments where we might predict things that random audience members named. It really seems impossible, but to a lot of people, it feels like we read energies or we connect with people's minds or that we look at body language and things like that.
You want me to tell you now?
Yeah.
It was a tree.
A tree. Great big tree. Take a look at. Show her.
No way.
And the truth of the matter is, psychology is important to a mentalist because we use it in our readings or the way we deliver things or the way we skew certain things in our favor here and there. But the basis of it is still magic tricks. There's still a basic trick, like a hard method that explains how we know most of the things that we know. As simple as how a magician knows the card that you picked. And there's a lot of people out there who kind of muddy those lines and it confuses the audience. So I've always been very clear about that. But already at that age, I was fascinated with mentalism. Now, in this period of my life, there were two other things that were happening that would have an impact on the course of my career. One of them was that for a couple of summers around then, I worked as a camp counselor at a day camp with kids of all ages, and I just loved it. It was such a fun environment, and it was a great place for me to practice my magic and get that performance in and, just understand how to deliver it right. And sometimes it was just for my group of kids. Sometimes we'd get the whole camp together and give the other counselors a break. Spidey's got this. And that's why I say that this was a huge contributor to my career, because that's where I got my professional name, Spidey. That's where it was born. Because all the counselors had to pick cute nicknames, and I just chose Spidey. And my very first shows that I did were for birthday parties of the kids, or their parents were having a function. So I would go to these and Spidey, 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 and the name just stuck. And I love that it's still there because it's kind of a wink to my beginning, where I started. The other thing that was happening in this period of my life is that I was graduating high school. And the school system in Quebec works a little different from everywhere else because you graduate high school after grade 11. So you're about 16 or 17 years old. Then you do 2 years at something called CEGEP, which is like a baby college. Then you go to university. And so you have to decide at a little bit of a younger age what you want to study at a university level. And for me, I was always fascinated by the human sciences, sociology, psychology, anthropology, the way we communicate, the way we behave, the way we think, the way we just interact. I loved it. And so that's what I went towards. I went to Concordia University with a major in sociology and a minor in psychology. This is also where my interest and obsession with human behavior really started to develop, but let me finish the entertainer path before we talk about that. So I'm in university and I've already started doing professional performances, getting booked for small private events, some corporate events here and there, mostly local stuff, very small television opportunities like, morning shows and news shows and things like that. But I'm starting to make a name for myself. I'm also uploading videos on the internet. This is like YouTube was a baby back then, but I'm uploading magic stuff, a lot of hypnosis stuff, some mentalism stuff, and it's starting to grow. So I'm starting to get some demand a little bit outside of, my local community. This is also when I realized that I was a lot more passionate about performing specifically mentalism and hypnosis. Anything that deals with thoughts and behaviors and connection and reading people and influence and predictions. And all the stuff that I was studying at school, I was able to kind of blend into my performances and come up with a very unique style in my shows. And at this point, a lot of more doors were opening as well. I had bigger opportunities on TV, doing some talk shows. Even local Montrealers might remember that I had this series in the movie theaters. All the movie theaters across Montreal, when you went to watch a movie, there'd be these little clips of me doing magic and mentalism for people at the movie theaters. We'd film and put them up. So I really started getting my name out there as a performer. And then things started to move to the US. I started doing college tours in both Canada and the US. And the college market for performances are wild. Because one night I'm in a stadium with 3,000 students and a sound system you wouldn't believe. And the next day I'm in a cafeteria with 12 students, 7 of which didn't know that there was a show that was happening. So it's a very different vibe, but you really get that grind in, because in that setting you pull everyone in. It's a more intimate show and you could focus a little bit more and do those readings. And then in that bigger show, you just got to move along a little bit faster. And even the specialties make a big difference, right? Because the way you connect with the students of a university that specializes in engineering and tech is going to be very different from an audience of students that study arts or music. It's a very different vibe and it's a very different path, and they're both such great learning experiences. And it was also at this point where I started doing bigger TV opportunities, mostly in the US and still some in Canada. I did things like Entertainment Tonight. I was on TMZ, The Today Show, The Rachel Ray Show. I did Showtime at the Apollo with Steve Harvey, a bunch of bigger talk shows. and just bigger opportunities for my career, to grow my career. In 2017, I had the honor of winning Mentalist of the Year in the US college market as voted upon by thousands of US colleges. And I'd been nominated for several things in the market before, but this was the first time that I won. And that award, by the way, is always behind me. It's one of the things that's always on these shelves behind me, right there next to the plant. It's transparent, so it's hard to see, but it's right there. 2017, Mentalist of the Year. And that was a huge honor for me to get recognized, in that market. I guess the last thing left to say with this whole mentalism thing is that throughout this entire experience, from pretty early on, I discovered that I had a knack for not just performing, but also creating mentalism effects, new ways to do things, to know what your audience is thinking, or to connect with a thought, or just to present something. And I guess it had to do with the fact that I was studying psychology, so I approached it from a bit of an original angle, and I would create products that teach my creations. And I worked with the biggest magic and mentalism distributors in the world, so there were all kinds of massive websites and magic shops all over the world that carried my products, and they were very well received. And I ended up doing a lot of lectures as well at magic conventions, or for like magic clubs, smaller local magic clubs. And I kind of separately but adjacent to my performance career grew this side of things, of like creating and teaching mentalism effects. And I won several awards for that as well. And the reason that's important for what we're going to be talking about in a minute is because this allowed me to connect and befriend some of the biggest names in magic and mentalism, whether it's because they bought my products or they were also putting stuff on the market, so we connected like that at conventions or something. So this really allowed me to connect with the whole world of magic and mentalism. All right, so that was entertainment. Now let's talk about psychology, because a lot of you know the result of that, but not the path. So let's go back to university. I'm studying sociology and psychology, and I'm already out there performing magic, mentalism, and starting to connect and starting to understand a little bit how people think and behave. But in school, I find myself drawn to anything that has to do with human behavior, why we behave the way we do. So things like Pavlov and Skinner, Solomon Asch, who did an amazing study about how we think the way a group thinks. It's fascinating till today. Things like Milgram with the electric shocks, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but more particularly, we were studying Ekman's work, Paul Ekman, who was all about micro expressions and the universal emotions. And there was a book by Knapp and Hall, which was all about nonverbal communication, an entire textbook. And I found myself so drawn to all this. And I was one of those students that would always find a way, whenever we had to write a paper or do some sort of project, I would find a way to relate it to these things so I could study these and get the grades. So I was just, it was a convenient thing that I can write these papers on. It was also at this point that I got my certification as a hypnotherapist. So I was already performing hypnosis as part of my shows, sometimes with mentalism, sometimes separately. And I have an opinion of what's going on with hypnosis on stage as a performance. It's fascinating to see, but I also wanted to learn beyond that. Like, how can I use this to help people? Because I was fascinated by it. And so I got that and I started practicing hypnotherapy. And there are a lot of different specialties in hypnotherapy. It can be really, really effective. But the two things that I really specialized in was phobias, like irrational fears that someone has, and getting over loss or grief. So whether it's someone who had a really hard breakup and they feel stuck, or someone lost a loved one and they feel really stuck, that was my specialty. And honestly, guys, I wish you would have seen some of the results back then, because it was insane. To see what this process can do for people, it was amazing. And I still, till today, take very select clients every now and then, but at some point I had to start making choices on where my career was gonna go. And the other thing about it is that because I really cared and I was working with grief patients, very often it would take a heavy toll on me. And it was affecting my mood as a performer. So I had to start making some choices, unfortunately. So it's still part of my life, but not the way it used to be. The other thing that was happening at this phase is that I was independently getting very much into body language, and there was a reason for this. The reason was because when I was performing mentalism, I wanted the things that I said to be legit, right? Because I didn't want to call out nonsense and have people leave my show and spread nonsense. If I said that, oh, your blink rate went up because something about this thought is stressing you out. In my reading, I wanted someone to leave and say, oh, this mentalist told me that when you blink more, it might be because you're feeling a little stressed. That's true. I want them to leave with things that are legit. So I wanted to look into how can actual body language help my readings, and then how can the mentalism help my analysis, me understand human beings. So the mentalism at this point is helping me understand human behavior, but the human behavior comes back and helps me improve with my readings. Because now I'm seeing actual things that I'm studying with Ekman's work, with Navarro's work, with Knapp and Hall, all these things I'm studying, I'm able to add to my readings. So they're kind of both helping each other out. I also at the time got a job at a really big entertainment company as head of staff. So I was doing a lot of hiring at the time, hundreds of employees that were helping with events, and I was applying a lot of this stuff that I was learning to that interview process. Because, I was hiring, for example, people who were working at casino nights. We do casino nights and we needed dealers and people to deal with money. So I had to make sure that I was hiring people who were honest and right for the job. So I was already applying a lot of this stuff at that time to the interview process. And as that part of my career developed, I got a lot more into doing consulting for interviews. People are looking to hire someone and they just need to make sure there isn't anything hidden. So I would either do interview takeovers or just kind of be in the room and kind of every now and then help guide something or ask something or see there might be something we need to talk about. So I started doing a lot of that. I also started teaching a lot of what I would learn, doing lectures and stuff in universities or for private groups of people, salespeople, lawyers, all kinds of things like that. And even in that field, I started, doing some TV stuff. Like, for example, I was on a really big Netflix original series called Brainchild that taught teens and kids all about the world around them. And I was the psychology guy. So I taught about, persuasion and critical thinking and motivation and all these different things. And if you have teens and kids at home, I highly recommend that series, Brainchild on Netflix. I did some more stuff with the Discovery Channel. I was featured on a bunch of news shows, a bunch of documentaries. And even recently, I had a big thing last year with AT&T around the holidays where I had to look at people and use behavior to figure out if they like the gifts that they're opening or not. And that was on the channel. You could check it out. It was a ton of fun. But I guess all this, both of these paths lead to what happened a couple of years ago when COVID hit and the world went into quarantine. So I want you to imagine this. I'm an entertainer and a lecturer. This is what I do. Everything I do is in person. And I'm in Florida. I'm actually on tour in Florida. I'm performing. And I get a phone call from my manager telling me that this next tour is canceled. Then another phone call. The one after that is canceled. Then another phone call. This client wants to postpone. And the next thing I know, within a day, my fiscal year that was coming up goes literally to zero. I don't have a career anymore. Everything's closed. Everything is closing. I'm sure some of you remember. It would almost seem like by the hour, more and more was closing. And I'm sitting there, I'm in Florida. I have to get home. And I basically don't really have much of a career. So I have to figure out what to do. And I thought of two avenues. One, very quickly, the entertainment world, especially magicians and mentalists, bounced back because we started performing virtual shows. And magic and mentalism is one of the best art forms that you could do virtually, because if I can interact with you like this, and I can tell you, think of something, and I can do a reading on you, or, I have some cards and I could do a card trick, it really works. I asked you to think of something that makes your heart happy. Suki, what is it you were thinking of?
The beach, yeah.
Which beach?
LBI, Long Beach Island.
I wasn't sure what it meant, but I was hoping it would mean something.
Oh my God. Come on, man. Show us how you do that one, Spidey. Come on.
So luckily, we were able to have this virtual offering for lectures and performances, and we're able to recover quite a bit. And at the same time, while I was at home, it allowed me to work on YouTube and post more. And up until then, my YouTube channel was about, vlogging and kind of lifestyle stuff, but with magic, some tutorials here and there and performances here and there. But at this point, because I was home and I could get creative, I started to branch out. So I would do live streams for magicians and mentalists to learn stuff and hang out. And I would do more tutorials from home for people sitting at home who want to learn a new skill. But I also started to do different things, new things. Like I started breaking down episodes of The Mentalist to say like what we actually do and what is completely fictional. And it was things like, when we do readings, it looks a little bit more like this, or we focus more on these things, not so much what he's talking about. Although it's a great series, super entertaining, love it. But I would just talk about a little bit like, okay, when we do that, it wouldn't look this way. That looks too clean. That's a little too impressive. So I did that a little bit. And some of my viewers wanted to know how I actually do readings in real life. So I started making content on my other channel about analyzing things in real life, celebrities, news stories, and their behavior, to kind of talk about what I look for as a behavioral analyst and as a performer, as a working mentalist. But sadly, those videos weren't doing that well. And not because the feedback wasn't positive, it was actually very positive, but because most of my viewers were not there for that. And YouTube is very good at making you stick to your niche. So it's almost like I was competing with myself. I'd post this video and it would get all these views, but then I'd post this video about this other thing and it was kind of like fighting itself. So I was seeing the numbers across the entire channel go down because I was diluting my audience. So I said, okay, why don't I start a second channel only about this? Analyze things that are happening in the news, current events, talk about behavioral analysis, word choice, psychology, behavior, all this stuff. And so that's what I did. I started a second channel called The Behavioral Arts, and you guys know the rest of the story because here we are. It was meant to be a side hustle at first, but before I knew it, a couple of major stories happened, and my analysis on that went really, really well to where I was being featured on some huge news shows and channels and write-ups, and eventually it just really picked up and I started getting a lot of traffic, and that's how almost anyone watching this video found me. That's why we're here, and it's grown to a place where I would have never imagined, but I'm so thankful for. This has become a big part of what I do, and it's been hard to balance, because I'm still out there touring and performing. It's hard to balance that with this, but we've built a family, we've built a community that I would have never imagined in a million years, one that I love to share with and talk to and learn from. There's tons of people with tons of experience coming into this, and even sometimes helping me out with clarity, and I just love what this has become. And so here I am, performer, lecturer, behavioral analyst, YouTuber, trying to balance it all out and figure out the best way to do that. And I still live in Quebec. That's still my home base. I'm in Laval, which is just north of Montreal. Just take a bridge, go to Laval, right there. And I live in a home that I bought 5 years ago. And we have a couple of animals. I love animals. It's insane how much I love animals. We have 2 doves. Their names are Raven and Wonder. And we have a cat. His name is Nimbus, but we call him Nimby. Say hi, Nimby. And we have a snake by the name of Venom, which is just a name. She's not venomous, she's harmless, she's a corn snake. And I got her once for a performance. We needed a snake for a show. And the plan was after to either return her or give her away to someone in the audience, but she was way too cute, I couldn't do it, so I brought her home. And we also have a tortoise by the name of Michelangelo, which I think has appeared in some videos or live streams on the channel before. And you'll notice I've been saying we have a tortoise and a snake. That's because the other person that I live with, besides all the animals, is Lauren. And I've mentioned every now and then on the channel that sometimes I say girlfriend, sometimes I say fiance. I very rarely say wife because we've been together for 9 years and there is a ring on her finger. I did propose, but we're not married yet. So, I often confuse as to what I'm supposed to call her, but her name is Lauren, and I've done a lot of things in life that I'm proud of. And I talked about some of those accomplishments, but of all the things I've accomplished, Lauren is the best. And I'm not just saying that the way you're supposed to say that when you're with someone. She's legit the best. There have been so many times in the history of this channel where I could have made half a video about how thankful I am to have her in my life. And the reason that I did isn't because I don't want to. Believe me, I want to. It's because I've learned to keep certain things separate, to keep my private life private. So whether it's because of experiences that I had in my early career or friends, I've learned to separate the two. But here's some pictures of me and Lauren over the years. And there have been so many times throughout my career, because think about it, 9 years, this is where my career mostly developed. And there have been so many times where her support and encouragement and just patience has been my beacon of light. I'm thinking specifically when it comes to YouTube of that phase in my life where the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial was happening. And every day I had to watch like 8 hours of footage. I was on tour in Florida, and between shows, between flights, I'm trying to catch up on what happened in the trial. I'm trying to film, I'm trying to edit. And she was there throughout that entire time with patients that I don't even know where she got from. It was unbelievable. So moving forward, you might hear me mention her a little bit more often, but I think I'll mostly go back to keeping my public and private life a little separate because I've had some bad experiences, as have a few of my friends. But know that anytime I mention my partner, my fiance, my girlfriend, I'm talking about Lauren. And now it's time for the big news, the two big newses. And I'm excited and nervous and all the feels, all of it. And the first one is that, as you now know, throughout my life, I've been called a lot of things: mentalist, behavioral analyst, YouTuber, lecturer. But there's one thing I always wanted to be called. Whew, here we go, take 87. There's one thing I've always wanted to be called, and that thing is father. And very soon I will have that title because Lauren is pregnant, and not just a little pregnant, very pregnant. In fact, she's pretty much 9 months pregnant. And the reason I just wanted to wait to announce this is because I wanted it to feel real. And we've been just going through so much, and it explains, by the way, the reason that I skipped a couple of uploads and my schedule was a little crazy because I was touring and trying to juggle this, and I wanted to be at all the ultrasounds and all the meetings and all the classes and everything. We had an amazing baby shower, one of those new co-ed baby showers. Family and friends were there. It was an incredible day. We had a maternity shoot. I wanted to be present at that as well. And he's coming. He's coming. It's going to be a boy. He's any day now. We're expecting to go to the hospital. And I guess I really wanted to make this video now because I might just, for a little bit, just not be around because I have to go to the hospital and my son is coming into the world very soon. Maybe while this video is being uploaded, or maybe just a little bit before, just a bit after, I'm going to start a new chapter in my life, a really, really important one. And it's obviously going to have a huge impact on my life, and I don't know what that impact is. I love being a performer. I love being a YouTuber. I love being here week after week with you guys. And, I love my job. I'm so passionate about it, but this is beyond a job. This is going to be something that I need to do. That's part of my identity, and I don't know how that's going to impact what I do. As he grows up, I have to be there as a father, and there are going to be times where he needs me for serious stuff, and then other times where he needs me for not so serious stuff, to go to a practice or an audition or a game or a tournament, or I don't even know what his hobbies are. I don't even know where I'm going, but I'm going to go. And I'll always try to not let that affect my work and continuously be here and keep up the quality that I'm committed to with my analysis videos. But I think any parent would tell you that, sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. So I'm sorry if there are times where I can't upload in time, or I can't upload a video that's of the length that it usually is, or, sometimes I skip a week. It might be because of that. And if it is, I'm sorry, and I'll see you the week after, and I'll try my best, and I'll keep you guys posted. I often update on the community post what's going on with me. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on what's going on. But if it takes up some of my time and, I can't quite keep up, I'm trying. Okay, somehow I got through that. Now for the second big news, which is a lot more related to my career. And it's the fact that recently I signed a contract for 2025, 3 months, March, April, May, for a residency at the Venetian in Las Vegas, 5 nights on stage as part of Shin Lim's magic show. Now, a lot of you know the name Shin Lim. He's one of the most accomplished magicians in the world, and in my opinion, one of the best. He has won America's Got Talent. Then he won America's Got Talent Champions. He's fooled Penn and Teller 2-3 times, who knows, lost count. He's a world champion of magic. He is unbelievable. And he's got a residency at the Venetian in Las Vegas, which he actually started just this week. He was at the Mirage before, but they closed down. He moved to the Venetian, and we go way back. Shin and I are really, really good friends. In fact, back when I was releasing magic, some of my earlier stuff, he was also releasing magic on the same websites, and that's where we connected. And we've been really good friends ever since. It's been such an honor and privilege to see where his career has come. And his show in it has a supporting act, a performer who narrates, hosts, and performs mentalism throughout the show. And we've been talking for a while. And, with the fact that the baby's coming and I have my touring schedule and YouTube, and the fact that he wants to keep it fresh and always feature new entertainers, we agreed on 3 months next year, March, April, May, where you will be able to find me on stage nightly, 5 nights a week at the Venetian with Shin as part of his show. I'm obviously extremely excited. This is gonna be so much fun, but I'm also really nervous and, you know, a little anxious because I'm gonna have a 5-month-old baby, and Lauren is gonna come with the baby and some of our family to Vegas to spend some time there. And I know it's gonna be a ton of fun, but it's also gonna be a little chaotic. You know, 5 nights on stage is not easy. Like, you know, I used to do that in my college tour days. It really can take its toll on you. So it's gonna be a lot to juggle. And then on those days off, I'm still gonna try to film and try to upload on YouTube. Now I say try because I don't know what my life is gonna be like. I'll obviously keep you guys updated, might do some live streams, might even let you in a little bit on what's going on in Vegas. Of course, if any of you are planning trips to Vegas or you're in the area or you wanna plan a trip to Vegas, I'll obviously talk about it between now and then, and I'll post the date somewhere. But come check it out. There will be VIP meet and greets after the show as well. It's gonna be a blast. You'll get to see me work in an amazing environment, like, you know, where performers wanna be. So it's gonna be awesome, but again, I don't know how easy it's gonna be to keep up the upload. So again, we're gonna talk about this a lot between now and then. I just wanted to let you guys know that this big thing is coming, plus the baby. It's gonna be hectic, so I guess I'm asking for some patience and just bear with me, especially when that time comes around, March, April, May, where we're trying to move a baby to Vegas, trying to get my bearings there, but we're gonna figure it out, you know, and I'm gonna keep trying as best as I can to juggle all these things, and hopefully we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. And if you have any tips, by the way, I know we have a lot of great parents in this community, but if anyone specifically has like uprooted a family with a baby to go somewhere for work for a little while, you know, let me know how that went, because you know, I want to know, like, how do I do this? How do I be the best at this? It's going to be an adventure, and it's going to be the best, and I'm so excited, and I'll share as much as I can with you all, because I really appreciate the family that we have here. Thanks for watching this video. You know, I hope it gave you a bit of insight as to where I came from, and above all, where I'm going. If anyone knows, I don't help. Somebody send me a map or something. This is going to be awesome, and I'll keep you guys updated. Thanks for watching, and I will see you, as always, on the next one.